Okay, hello and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for this incredibly exciting conversation celebrating the theatrical release of the widely acclaimed film Through the Night, a cinema verite portrait of three working New York mothers whose lives intersect at a 24-hour daycare center. A mother working the overnight shift as an essential worker at a hospital, another holding down three jobs to support her family, and a woman who for over 2 decades has cared for the children of parents with nowhere else to turn. This is one of my most favorite films that I've seen in so long, and we have such a special treat today. We get to hear from the filmmaker and several of the people whose stories are at the center of this film. My name is Ai-jen Poo, and I'm the director of the National Domestic Workers Alliance, where we represent the 2.5 million nannies, house cleaners, and home care workers who do the work in our homes that makes everything else possible. And I'm also the director of a campaign called Caring Across Generations. And our work is all about valuing the care work that enables everything else in our lives and helps to ensure that the people we love have the care and dignity that they deserve. And it's about lifting up our caregivers, who are overwhelmingly women and people of color. And that is why this film is so very special to me. It cuts to the heart of so much of the work of the women that I represent and the work we're trying to do to change our culture and society to be much more caring, much more sustainable, and to really honor the work that is about caring for our children and our families. So without further ado, I'm really excited to introduce our panel today. We have with us the incredible filmmaker, Loyda Limbaugh. Loyda is an Afro-Dominican filmmaker and a DJ interested in the creation of art that is nuanced and revelatory for communities of color. She is also the Senior Vice President of Programs at Firelight Media. And Firelight is committed to making films about pivotal movements and moments in the US. Firelight's flagship program, called the Documentary Lab, is a fellowship that provides mentorship, funding, and industry access to emerging filmmakers of color. This film, Through the Night, was part of 2019 Sundance Edit and Story Lab and was selected for world premiere at the 2020 Tribeca Film Festival. She's made other films. Her first film, Estilo Hip Hop, was a co-production of ITVS and aired on PBS in 2009. She also co-produces and helms the popular monthly, Brooklyn Monthly, hashtag a party called Rosie Perez. Limbal received a BA in history from Brown University and is a graduate of Third World Newsreel's film and video production training program. And she's a proud Sundance Institute Fellow and a former Ford Foundation Just Films Rockwood Fellow. She lives in the Bronx with her two kids. Hey. We also have with us on this panel, I'm so excited, we have with us Dolores Nunu Hogan and Patrick Pop Pop Hogan, the family daycare owners who are featured in this film. Dolores and Patrick founded Dee's Tots in New Rochelle, New York in 1985 with the mission to enrich the children they serve one day at a time through individual and group play, interactive learning, and to provide a safe home away from home. Most of the constituents that they serve are single parents from low-income families, and they provide a unique service, 24 hours a day childcare for families for whom childcare options are really limited, and that's so many families. The care that they provide is essential to the empowerment of the kids they serve and brings peace of mind to the parents that they serve. They want the families they serve to know that they are not alone. And I can't imagine a more important job. Thank you so much for what you do every day and for joining us on this panel. And we also have with us Marisol Valencia, who is a working mother whose children have grown up at D's Tots. Marisol's story is marked by the search for one reliable job in order to spend more time with her children. Her children are now 10 and 14 years old. Marisol is currently working 6 days a week for a supermarket supply company. All right, let's dive into this conversation. I'm so excited to hear more from all of you. Why don't we start with you, Loyda, as the filmmaker? Can you tell us a little bit about your personal motivation for making this film and telling these stories?
Sure. And thank you, Ai-jen, for taking time out of a Sunday of all days of the week to be here and conversation with us. For me, it's so special. We have known each other for, I think, almost 20 years.
That's
And I
right.
give a shout out to Cav and Sister to Sister and all that work that was happening in New York in the early 2000s. And just that, the work and our paths have reconnected and crossed in this way is really meaningful to me and very special. So just want to extend my gratitude to you for that, and that we're able to be here in service of the people who are taking care of us, are taking care of our loved ones, and that are keeping society running at a moment like the one that we're in. Just makes this all that more special. And I'm excited that you get a chance to also meet Nunu and Patrick and Marisol and some of the babies and the daycare, the stars of our film. In terms of the motivation and sort of the beginning of the film, it stemmed from an article that I read about the daycare, these tots. And when the daycare was essentially talking about the fact that in the US now, many people have to work more than one job to make ends meet, and that oftentimes and increasingly those jobs require overnight hours or irregular hours, schedules that change from day to day, and so it was posing the question of, given this reality, who takes care of the children? And they profiled the daycare and some of the parents whose children attend the daycare. And when I read the article, I was sort of just immediately drawn in from a very personal and sort of emotional place, because it made me think about my mother and my own childhood. My mother raised four children in New York City, working as a home health aide, making minimum wage, and working the night shift. So a lot of what I read in the article resonated very deeply with what I knew to be my mother's experience, and also resonated with me as a single working mother myself. And so I, sort of was sitting in this emotional place reading these stories, and then, thinking about the fact that this is the story of so many women, but particularly women of color. And then, realizing that these stories are common. They're certainly very common in our communities, but they're pretty invisible. We don't see these stories in our mainstream and our popular culture. And as a filmmaker, I quickly, sort of became taken by the idea of making a film that could serve as a portrait of this universe.
Beautiful. And it's so, so very important. I think the whole country is starting to awaken to just how essential childcare workers are to our safety, to our health, our well-being. But I think we're still a long ways away from where we need to be to truly value and protect this work. And I just want to take a second to honor Dolores and Patrick and the work that you do to take care of children every single day. It is literally heroic and essential. And I'm so glad that more people, especially through this film, are recognizing that. And I want to bring you into the conversation. Dolores, if you could say a little bit about what you want people to learn and know about childcare providers that may not be obvious.
what I know about child care providers is a little bit of everything um, from the start, because I've been here for a long time, way before they start licensing providers. So, what I know about child care providers is that we don't get enough recognition about and for the things that we do and how we are taking care of the children through the state and different things like that. They consider us as just uh, babysitters, and we're not babysitters. Um, we take care of your children. We teach your children how to socialize. We teach your children how to love and become productive in the world when they grow up. And we teach them how to respect each other when they're grown um, um, and out in the world.
Mhm.
We definitely don't get enough recognition whatsoever by the state. They are just throw us out there to fend for ourselves, and we try to do everything we can through buying Pampers for the parents that can't afford Pampers, getting in milk. I thank God for a lot of parents that I have here because they help me with donations, but they have to take care of their children too. But I thank God for a lot of people that's around me, and God gave me so many good people around that I kind of get a little help from people to help the people, the other parents that can't really afford these things. But when it comes to the state and policies and different stuff, we have no respect whatsoever. I guess I'm starting to sound like Rodney Dangerfield. We get no respect, and that's exactly what we get is no respect. And
Yeah, if you could speak right now to the decision makers at the state level, what would you ask them to change about how you're respected and protected in the work that you do?
I'll ask for them to give us a little bit more in the amount of um, um, more money towards the daycare so we can do things that we need to do. More money for the parents so they can go out and work and don't have to. When a parent get another job, that money goes towards what they're already making. So that makes their payment higher. So let's say a parent is paying, let's say $50 a month, and she goes out and get $50 a week, and she goes out and get another job. So now that money goes towards that. The second job goes towards her child care payment, which could knock it up to 100 or 125. And if she's making over with 3 kids or 2 kids, she's making over 47,000. They kick her totally off. Like what we're dealing with Marisol. After the central workers are over and done, after this is over with, they totally kicking her off. She's not going to get child care at all anymore because she's making a little bit over. She had to go out and get 2, 3 jobs just to make ends meet. So now after this, what's going to happen to her? What's going to happen to her children? Do she have to quit a job in order to be on the state? That's not even making sense. They should help the parents and the providers more so the providers can help the parents more. So if I had to say something to the lawmakers and whoever making all these policies and stuff, sit us at the table, the parents and the providers, and listen to what we have to say because we're tired.
Mm, that's right. I hope they're listening right now because I couldn't agree more. You need a seat at the table. There should not be any conversation about reopening or economic recovery that doesn't include your voices and your perspectives. And I want to bring Marisol into this conversation too, because I think childcare and all forms of care is one place where you just see how interdependent we are and how we really rely on each other. And as an essential worker yourself, Marisol, what made you want to be a part of this film in particular? What are you hoping people will learn from your story?
I hope motivation to other single moms that anything is possible, and that I want to show that as a single mom, I've been judged because I work too much and I don't spend enough time with my kids, um, and that's not right. I mean, we have to work because we're not. we can't always depend on the government either. And that's what I want to show the world, that to be appreciative of the single moms. And we don't do it because we want to do it, because we have to do it to provide for our kids. And I don't have nobody else, only myself and Nunu, you know. I do have family, but my family is not supporting me as Nunu does.
Yeah. No, it's incredible the community and family that you've created, and that the way that you've been able to support each other. And one of the things we've been trying to make clear to policymakers is that families need more support and assistance, and care workers and care providers need more support and assistance. And the two things are interconnected. We're never going to be able to recover economically from this crisis if families don't have access to care and our caregivers are not supported and protected. That's the first most important step to economic recovery. And I think that the message is going through, and that your stories are a part of the power of how that message will get through. And I'm curious for you, Loyda, that must have been part of, I know you're an activist, you're an organizer. Tell us about how you're hoping this film will actually have an impact on policy and politics.
Yeah, it was certainly, a big part of what I was thinking about. I think, I had two kind of buckets, or categories of impact that I was hoping to work towards with the film. One was certainly, around campaigns and organizing work and creating, a film that could help move the needle, right? Could be part of the effort, of moving the needle and changing the narratives and changing the conversation that we have in the US. I mean, I think, on one level, when I think about Nunu, Patrick, Marisol, and Shonona, all of them are essentially working around the clock. And they were already working around the clock before COVID 19, right? They were all getting 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep, if that. Uh, and that to me is violent, and so many people in our communities, this is how they're living. And it's this violence that we don't call violence, we don't name it, right? Like we don't out it. And then if we don't recognize it and we don't identify it, then we're not able to really combat it or do anything to change it, right? Like you can't change that which you can't see or that which you can't face, right? So part of me was wanting to create a film that would expose this system of work that we have in the US that is so violent and so harmful, and that does really essentially ask people to sacrifice themselves and their well-being. You have multiple cities across the United States where people could be working full time, and if you're making minimum wage, you can't afford to pay rent. It's well documented, right? And that we've normalized all these things, and we just don't talk about them enough. And again, I see it as violent. I see it as I see it as violence and cruelty, and it's a violence that I want to make visible. And what better tool, right, than cinema to make things visible and to make them legible. So that was, on the one hand, I wanted to create something that was, it's not data, it's not statistics, it's story. It is people living their everyday lives and being harmed by this violent system, right? So I think in many ways it's something that is, you can't sort of really argue against it because it unfolds in front of your eyes. It's not somebody's interpretation of what's going on. It's literally what's happening. And then on the other hand, I was also really thinking about us. I was thinking about the single mothers. I was thinking about the caregivers, and wanting to create a film that could also make legible to us both things, right? Both the violence that we're going through, because as Mari spoke, as Mari said, there's a lot of stigma and a lot of criticism and a lot of judgment, right? That particularly single mothers of color face. And we, I think, internalize what we're told about the idea that whatever struggles we have are our own fault. They're due to our own shortcomings or mistakes that we've made. When in reality, if anyone should be ashamed, it's our society. The shame lies in our systems, right? Like we're struggling not because of some personal shortcoming, but because the system is designed this way. And I wanted to make that legible to us, right? Because we are internalizing these messages. But then to also make legible just how brilliant and innovative we are, and that this is not new. Our communities have always taken care of each other in these ways, right? We've constantly redefined family, and we've constantly sort of said and insisted on the value of our own lives, even when the larger society around us does not, agree or does not treat us as if our lives are worthy. We have assigned value to each other and cared for each other, and this is nothing new. And that was also part of it, wanting to make that visible to us and make that legible to us.
Beautiful. I think you were really successful in all of those goals, Loida, with this film. Certainly the impossible choices that Patrick and Nunu and Marisol and the other women in the film face every single day were so clear. And I'm wondering, Nunu and Patrick, we're now 9 months into this raging pandemic, and how are you doing? How are you?
We're not doing 100% like we was doing before, but we're able to, survive. Like I said, me and my husband, we used up all our money to keep the daycare open and help keep the other workers that we have here with us, because I would hate for them to lose them. And plus, they need to pay their bills too. I hate to lose them and we have to start all over again, because I have a great staff and they know exactly what I'm looking for and they know exactly what I want. And the kids love them. And I don't like starting all over again. I like the kids to know who they're with at all times. I don't like change, just like children don't like change. We had the full to capacity. Now we're working with 14 to 12 kids. It depends on what's going on daily. And we help other parents, like if we get anything extra in, I'll give the parents money for food or light bills, or now we're looking for toys and different stuff for the kids for Christmas for certain parents and different stuff. But it's not the greatest, and we have to. I mean, we always kept the daycare clean no matter what. But now the wearing a mask and all that different stuff. I have asthma. Every once in a while, it's hard for me to breathe through the mask, but I have to do what I have to do. Um, Going out panics me because I'm so afraid, because I have so many underlying sickness. It panics me to go out the door. So Patrick normally go out and get a lot of things that I need. Marisol, since she works in a grocery store, she'll call me every day and ask me, Nunu or mommy, is there anything that you need? And I'll, let her know. So I thank God for my baby over here and my husband. But it's not easy, and it's not easy for any of the parents dropping their kids off at the door. I'm rarely taking in other parents because I'm scared that uh, somebody in their family might have something, and the parents that I have here, I'm trying to keep them and the children as safe as possible because I kind of know them. So that kind of help cut down on my business too. But due to all of this, I have to make so many different changes. But we're definitely trying to make the best of it. But this is a, a terrible place and a terrible thing to be in.
Mhm.
And I don't know how we're going to get past this. There's so many providers that's closed, and I doubt if they're ever going to open again. Nurture, most of the providers in Nurture is closed, and we lost some good providers. I mean, good people that love children and children deserve them, and they deserve the children. But I doubt if they're going to come back anytime soon.
Mhm.
And we're just doing what we can. That's all.
It sounds like you're doing amazing under an incredibly impossible situation right now. And I will never forget the Christmas scenes from the film. Um, with all that you all did to give those kids an incredible Christmas. I know you're doing the same thing this season, so we'll be thinking of you and sending you a lot of love.
Thank you.
And I believe that there's reason to be hopeful. I believe that more and more people than ever before are seeing the work that you do, are seeing the struggles of essential workers like Marisol, and recognizing that we have to do more than applause. We have to actually change things so that you have the care you need, you earn the pay that you deserve, you have the protections that you deserve. And this new incoming administration put forward a plan as part of their campaign to invest in our caregiving systems, including our childcare providers. And so now the work is to really hold them to that, right? As this new administration comes in, to really push to make sure that everything that we've seen and cannot unsee in this crisis becomes new policy, new reality, and real change for moms, for parents, and for caregivers like you.
They would know if this new minister that's coming in now, they would know exactly what we need if they set us at the table
Mm-hmm.
and we could tell them what we need. They can't tell us what we need. We have to tell them. We're the
Absolutely.
one actually living through it.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And Marisol, as an essential worker, do you have any words for our legislators as they enter into a new congressional session?
Well, to give us more help, as a center worker that I work in the field, 7 days of the week, 15 hours a day sometimes. We need more help. We wish we could stay home, but I can't because we have to go and to provide for our children. We have so many bills to pay. And sometimes we miss out. Our kids, they're growing up, and we don't we time goes so fast.
Mhm.
Before you know it, they're adult already.
Yeah, that's right. We can't wait another minute for real
Yes.
change here, and to have childcare providers at the table, essential workers at the table, really shaping our future in a new way. Loyda, I want to pass it back to you before we run out of time here to say a little bit about how people can see your beautiful film and how people can get involved and really help to address some of these problems that we've been talking about today.
Yeah, thank you, Ai-jen. It's like, I hear Nunu and Mari talking, and I know I know what they're going through because we're in communication all the time, but it's like so hard to hear, you know. And it's 9 months, and we've done so little, and we've asked for so much of these folks. And so, yes, that said, my hope is that folks do watch the film and can connect the dots, and that, Mari is your supermarket clerk, right? Mari is the person who is at Target when you need to make a run late at night. Mari is, all of the folks, right? Mari is the person that is, doing janitorial services in a hospital, right? Like, these folks are in your own community. It's not just Marisol, it's not just Nunu and Patrick, right? We are all relying and depending on people like Marisol and Nunu and Patrick. And so they're taking care of us. The least that we could do is take care of them. And so I, invite everyone to watch the film. It is playing in virtual cinemas, and the tickets are available at our website. And we have also reopened the Essential Care Fund. Earlier in the year, we launched a fundraiser. We, literally the people here on this call, some parents and some childcare providers, to raise funds to support daycare centers that were remaining open to care for the children of essential workers. We gave out 13 grants to providers in New York. And now as we open the film in other cities across the country, we want to do the same. And so that's, you know, another way to get connected. And there are numerous other resources and things like that on the website as well. So yes, you know, watch the film, visit the website, and join us in taking care of our caregivers.
That's right. Caring for our caregivers, the most important thing we can do right now. I hope everyone will go see this incredible film. It's literally stunning and will stay with you for a very long time. So please visit the website and donate and stay involved, because there's a lot of work to do to care for our caregivers. Thanks, everybody. And thank you so much to Nunu, Patrick, and Marisol for everything you do every day and for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you. Patrick had to
Thank
step
you.
up and watch the children, but
Thank
he
you.
want to thank you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please watch the film, please.
Yes, please support us.